conservation of culture, enrichment of culture, recognizing the needs and aspirations of the societal needs and aspirations, strengthening cooperation between the individual and society, and socialization of the individual. These are some of the specific functions which education performs for the entire upliftment of the society. Again, education as an operational aspect of society. Why is it called as an operational aspect? Because it operates or it does some specific functions which helps in the development of the entire society. Again, this particular function of education can be subdivided into three parts. What are they? That is functions of education towards the individual, that is the first category, then towards the society, the second category, then the third one, educational function towards the nation, that is for the national development. So under development, toward development of the individual, that is functions regarding the individual's development, the points that come under it are integrated growth, proper direction, preparation for adult life. These are the basic four functions of education towards individuals' development. Then, towards the society, the first point is that maintaining continuity of life. Then, conservation of culture, enrichment of culture, transmission of culture. So education performs three important functions regarding to culture. That is, it preserves it, it transmits it, moreover it modifies it for the future generation. So it acts as a tool or a via media through which culture is carried out to the successive generations. Then towards the nation. So what are the function of education towards the nation or national development? What is it? The first one is inculcation of civic and social values. Since we are living in a civilized and socialized country, here societal norms and rule regulations are mandatory to be observed by each and every individual. Then, training for leadership, that is, the qualities that are to be refined so that one acts as a leader in the society. Emotional integration, emotional maturity, these are some of the important points which education teaches or educates an individual to become a rational, social, and civilized individual. Then, national integration, that is unity within diversity. That is all about India's cultures, subcultures, how different people of different cultural values, linguistic differences are there, regional differences are there. Still, education binds them all into a one Indian subcontinent. Then, social and national services. These all functions come under what? That is function of education towards the national development. Then we'll go to what? That is, what is culture? That is transmission of culture from one generation to another, training of people for specialized adult roles, and cultural heritage by developing new knowledge. So, etymologically or derivative term of culture, culture has been derived from the Latin word culta, C-U-L-T-A. What is it? That means to cultivate or till something. So, culture is what a person cultivates in his lifetime or living. What he cultivates or refines or tries to modify in his entire personality. So, here we have to say that I'll like to quote the definition of Tyler. Tyler's definition says that culture is that complex whole which includes knowledge, beliefs, art, moral, laws, customs, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. So, here it includes the knowledge aspect, the beliefs, the art, the morals, the laws, the customs, our traditions, our folk ways, and any other capability and habit as acquired as an individual in the society. That is, individual learns from his family members, neighborhood, society, So here each and every individual interact with these all aspects, and every aspect is taken in toto as the cultural upliftment or culture in totality. Then another new concept is enculturation. What is it? So it is the process by which an individual learns the accepted norms and values through repetition so that the individual can become an accepted member of the society. So as we know, when we take birth, we are just like a clean slate. An individual or a newborn baby has a mind of a clean slate, which has been told by, that is lock, that is tabula rasa, just a plain slate. What the environment and the other individuals of the society write upon it, it tries to imbibe or learn all those things. In the same way, enculturation is the process where the child tries to learn something new from that particular culture where he or she lives in. So here we have to say that enculturation is the process whereby an individual learns the accepted norms and values through repetition so that the individual can become an accepted member of the society and find his or her suitable role. So, the particular role one has to perform, he or she tries to learn from the nearby surrounding. It establishes a context of boundaries and correctness that dictates what is it and what is not permissible. So, society has some societal norms, conditions, rules, and regulation. As an individual, that you have to follow those. Otherwise, you will be declared or known as an antisocial human being. So, to avoid that, one has to follow these things and one has to learn through the process of enculturation. Then training for the specialized roles. So a sociologist, that is Emile Durkheim, argues school child learns to respect rules in general and develops the habits of self-control and restraint. School is a formal setup where the child learns what is social discipline. He or she tries to refine his irregular habits, antisocial habits, and tries to become a humane individual, having all the qualities of a good, socialized, civilized, well disciplined individual. This particular thing is developed after going to the school, after going in a formal setup. We try to learn, we try to share, we try to cooperate, we try to restrict our desires and try to be behave in a formalized setting. The different types of behavior that is expected from us in a formalized setting is tried to be, what you say, that it is developed in the school atmosphere. Then, according to Talcott Parson, an American sociologist, he says about two types of status, that is ascribed status, another one is achieved status. Prior to this modern society, we had known a particular thing, that is your ascribed status. That is what our forefathers used to do. We were doing that particular job or that particular occupation, that is Brahmins, their forefathers are known for doing religious work, they do that. Kshatriyas, they are the warriors, they go for war. Then we have the Vaishyas, they do the business work, that is their family business. Then finally, the Shudras, the untouchables, they do the works, that is maintenance of cleanliness in the society. So here, according to the caste system, ascribed status or that is family occupation was carried out. But now, in the modern times, achieved status is given more importance. Achieved status is what? The thing which we achieve, that is through our educational qualification, through our merit, through our achievement, through our scores. So now the focus have shifted from ascribed status to achieved status. So in modern industrial society, it is the main focus is upon achieve status, and education is the only medium through which we can enhance or elevate our status and get a reputation or a good status in the society. Then the third thing is that change is change in the cultural heritage. So society undergo change. So change is the unchangeable law of nature. So each and everything keeps on changing. Each and everything is bound to change. So society undergoes change due to many reasons, or different types of factors are there which cause for societal change. May it be your political factors, economic factors, geographical factors, philosophical factors, not to forget, our educational factors also have an important role regarding this. So here, new professions are emerging which are based upon your achieved status, no more your ascribed status. So the focus is upon achievement and accordingly the achieved status. Then a new thing. What is that? Acculturation. So acculturation is another new concept. What it deals with? So it is a process of cultural change in which two or more cultures, when they come in contact with each other, undergo change from one cultural context to that of another. This process of adaptation or readaptation across cultural system. So here, two cultures, for example, your Indian culture and your Western culture, the types of food habits, the dressing sense have drastically changed. Prior to that, we were not used to that fast foods or dressing sense, or we were not so technologically updated. But nowadays, many of the things we have learned or we have adapted, and again we are modifying and readapting different types of values, different types of customs, traditions, and different types of qualities from the Western society. This particular thing where we leave our cultural ethics or values and try to imbibe the new things, that particular process is known as acculturation. So it is a very complex phenomena. So involving various aspects of different culture, the process of learning, consolidation of different aspects of culture, it is a collective learning. So it is a lot of things take place in a particular platform. We try to change some of our values, we try to imbibe something new, we try to refine our persona, we see how it whether we are able to absorb that new qualities or not, whether it suits us or not, whether we are able to cope up with the new situation or not. So for example, in school system, people from different culture meet and may adopt different aspects of different culture they come across. For example, a South Indian child mixes with a North Indian Punjabi child, tries to learn what he says, or tries to have, he loves the tiffin they share, the type of food items they eat, the type of accent they speak. All these things friends share together. In a way, he tries to learn some of the new things and exchanges his thoughts with the other person. So that particular process is known as acculturation. Then we go to a new thing, that is social change and education. Then social change and education, there are different types of factors we see. All these factors have some or the other contribution towards the upliftment or development. But it is not always that all these factors contribute to the positive side. Some of it do contribute towards the negative side. And for example, prior to independence, we had sati pratha, then child marriage, then there was no system of widow remarriage. Raja Rammohan Roy, you must be knowing, an historical figure. His contribution towards this field is remarkable. And Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Swami Vivekananda, Mahatma Gandhi, these are all enlightened Indians whose contributions can never be forgotten. So these people have led society into a different platform. They have uplifted the social status. In focus, the women's development or upliftment have developed a lot. They were no more meant for only doing household chores. Now they are moving out of their house, going for education, going for higher education, going for employment. They stand at par with their male counterparts. This has been only possible due to education. and this has led society to a higher status, and this has developed the society. We can say that our women are also at par with the Western countries. We can say that we have developed a lot. Otherwise, I will not have been seen so many of girl students are there, and me as a woman also you're teaching. This shows that women empowerment has taken place. And it is only because of education. So, so social change and education have a very interlinked or interrelated relationship. Again, different commissions and committees after independence, they have taken lot of given lot of recommendations to be noted. That is the recommendation given by Education Commission, that is the Kothari Commission 1964-66, regarding what one of the important social objectives of education is to equalize opportunity, enabling backward and underprivileged classes and individuals to use education as a leveler for the improvement of their condition. So education is regarded as what? As an what do you say that as an boosting condition, or as a fact boosting factor which helps the individual to raise its level, to raise its status in the society. Moreover, the commission says to have to provide equal opportunity, that is equal opportunity in respect to gender, in respect to social categories, in respect to localities. What is it? In respect to gender, that both the females and male should be given equal right for education. Again, in respect to social categories, that is the backward categories, SC, ST, should be given equal opportunity. And again, the locality, the rural communities also should be provided with good schooling facilities. These all things to be taken into consideration. Otherwise, after independence also, we cannot say that we are in literal sense we are independent, because we'll be still lagging behind due to our ignorance. Then there are different kinds of mobility. What is it? That is the vertical mobility and horizontal mobility. These two types of mobility are related to social change. What is vertical mobility? That is, for example, an individual after going through proper higher education, his father was a farmer, but after getting higher education or good education, that particular holds a good governmental job. This shows that is his vertical status. From a poor family, he has come to have a good status in society, or he has got good educational qualification, good prestige, respect from the society. This shows vertical mobility. And horizontal mobility, that is moving at the same level, that is moving, passing on from the same level. For example, an individual or a teacher was working in a particular school, got transferred to another school, but he is there in the same, horizontal mobility goes on. So here education helps for enhancing or developing or having vertical mobility. Then education and economic development. So education is what it is at the present time. Education helps for economic development. Economic development of nation is very important, because otherwise the state will not be able to be called as a developed country. The economic gross product, GDP, is very important. And here, according to Strumlin, highly qualified workers lead to high productivity of labor, increase not only their own earnings but also social products, and consequently the national income. So here one has to say that the national income depends upon the educated manpower, the skilled manpower. Where will we getting it? Through education only the national income will be developed. So education provides the skilled manpower, the different kinds of talented workers, which help for boosting our economic development of our nation. Then the self-reliance in terms of agriculture, technology, expertise in large number of areas have helped India to go to a powerful economic position. Otherwise, it was known as only for its agricultural development. But now, India also holds an important position regarding its technological sectors also. And it is only possible through the educational facilities. So we can say that there is a strong relationship between economic growth and education. Now, education is regarded as an investment. The more we invest into it, the more will be the output. The more will be getting what talented and educated individuals. Then the role of political system. Political system and education. So political system and education, there are different types of political societies, or we can say that political beliefs and ideologies, different types of political setup. So the education, role of education with regard to political system, we can say that education prevalent in different political setups like the fascist, the communist, the democratic. The chief purpose of education in the fascist state is the enlightenment of the masses about the ideals exalted by the fascist ruler. The purpose of education is to glorify the nation and prepare the people for all sacrifices for her supremacy over other nations of the world. So here the fascists have focus upon that is, in the fascist society, the educational aims and objectives should be in accordance with the state policy, where it says that one has to sacrifice the individual will, and one has to bow down the rules and regulations as told by the society. One has to prepare for social development. Rather, one has to focus upon the supremacy of particular nation over other nation. So here the purpose of education is to glorify nation. That is developing patriotic feelings, developing your entire focus is upon for the social development of the society in comparison to the individual's personal development, or individual's personal will is to be curbed for focusing societal will and development. Then the communist. The communist philosophy is the philosophy of scientific realism. The communists believe in building a classless society. There will be a society without having any class. That is your middle class, your lower class, or upper class. Everyone should enjoy equality in matters of your economic status. So the communists believe in building a classless society. Education is given with specific tasks, and its success is judged on the basis of national progress and prosperity. So here education is to be valued, or is to be counted how much the educational, how much the economic development has been there due to the educational process. That is, the profit is to be seen. The economic development is the main aim of education in the communist philosophy. Then we go to the third one, that is the democratic society, the society in which we live in, because India is a democratic country. So according to Gandhiji, I would like to quote his saying, I hold that democracy cannot be evolved by forcible methods. The spirit of democracy cannot be imposed from without. It has to come from within. The education inculcates self-realization, human relationship, economic efficiency, and civic responsibility. So here, according to Gandhiji, educational aims and objectives in a democratic society should focus upon what? Inculcation, that is development of self-realization, human relationship, economic efficiency, and civic responsibility. So these are the main fundamental things which are to be developed or inculcated within an individual for to become a good socialized civilized individual in a democratic society. That is the society in which we Indians live in. Then we'll go for the influence of political system on Indian education. So the influence of political system in Indian education, will be saying that Indian education, or the history of Indian education, dates back right from the Vedic age. The Vedic age, then the Buddhist period, then the medieval or the Islamic education time, then the British, then after the British education, will have the modern educational system. So, educational aims and objectives during the Vedic or the ancient times, the ones we used to call that the Gurukula ashram type of educational aims and objectives. That at that time, the main focus in the Vedic period was Gurukula learning, a temple. It was regarded as a temple. The main aim of Vedic system was realization of supreme power, that is the creator, preservation of ancient culture, that is preservation of ancient culture, cultivation of spiritual and moral values, achievement of perfection and vocational efficiency. So here we are focusing upon what, that is your realization of supreme power, preservation, development, and transmission of cultural values, cultivation of spiritual and moral values, achievement of perfection, and vocational efficiency. So, these are the main aims and objectives during the Vedic schooling or in our Gurukula Ashrama system. Then we go for the curriculum. What kind of curriculum was prevailing at that time? That is, literature was there, spiritual lessons were given, moral lessons were given, philosophy was there, grammar was there, language was there, astrology was there, logic and physical education were there. Rather, we can say that it was a combo pack. All round development of the individual was the main focus, which is the very definition of our education. The term education is all about all-round development of an individual, and Vedic system of education was very rightly focusing upon the entire aspect, the social aspect, the moral aspect, the physical aspect, the intellectual aspect, everything was taken into consideration, and accordingly they had their curriculum prepared. Then what was the method of imparting this particular curriculum? That was Sravana, Manana, and meditation. Sravana means they used to learn by listening to their gurus. Gurus used to chant mantras, the Vedic hymns, where the student is to learn, memorize, practice it, and thoroughly again recite it in front of his guru. Then manana, that is you have to memorize it and all. Meditation, there were long period of meditation where they were focusing upon how to focus on a particular thing, how to memorize it, how to make your soul in a peaceful, how to train your soul to be in a peaceful atmosphere, how to connect with Atma and Paramatma, that will lead for the ultimate aim, that is self realization. That was the main focus of the Vedic system of education. Then we move on to the Buddhist system of education. What is it all about? The Buddhism or the Buddhist philosophy focused upon what kind of aims and objectives? That is mukti. That is mukti from what? Mukti from all type of problems or state of eternal bliss, moral perfection, Arya Ashtanga marka, that is eightfold path were followed, where they used to practice all these things, and they have to have a very disciplined life. And the admission procedure into the Buddhistic monastery was known as Pabaja, and the passing out was known as Upasampada. The admission was known as Pabaja, and that is the farewell ceremony is known as Upasampada. Then the curriculum that is to be followed, that was followed at that time, was spinning, weaving, printing, cloth painting, Ayurveda, and surgery. These were some of the important topics that were dealt during that time. Then the method that was used for delivering this particular subject matter, that was lecture method, speech, debate, discussion, question answer, meditation, and self study. These were some of the important methods through which this particular Buddhist curriculum was given. Then we'll move on to the Islamic education or the medieval time. What was done? Here, Islamic education mainly focused upon the religious propagation of their religion. That is, the objective was acquisition of knowledge, propagation of Islam, social morals, material progress, and Muslim culture. So these were some of the main aims and objectives of the Islamic or medieval education system. Then we go to what? The types of institution that was found during the medieval education system. What were there? For the primary, it was the maktab. For the higher education, that was the madrasa. So the primary schools or schooling system was known as maktab, and the higher education was known as madrasa. Then the methods of teaching, the oral, discussion, lecture method. These were the different types of methods of teaching that was followed in the medieval time period. Then we'll move on to what? The British education system. What kind of education system that was followed in the British era? So in the British era, we used to find, just a moment, that is, the Christian missionaries opened different types of schools. Different types of school. Then an important episode took place due to the Macaulays Minute. That is, in February 1935, an English medium school were opened, or more focus was given on English education. That was highlighted through the Woods Dispatch in 1854. The entire responsibility of education was taken by the British government. Then different types of universities, DPI, were established at Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. During that time, the name was not Kolkata, not Mumbai, not Chennai. Rather, it was called Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. So, medium of instruction was English. Training of teachers, that is, teacher training institutions were also opened. Vocational education was provided, and women education were also taken into consideration. Then comes what? Then our Indian Education Commission in 1882 that recommended for indigenous schooling, extension of primary, secondary, women's education, adult education. These were some of the important points that were recommended in the Commission of 1882, that is Indian Education Commission. Then the Calcutta University Commission in 1917, which recommended for secondary and intermediate board degree. Medium of instruction were also focused upon mother tongue and English. Then residential university were given priority. Then selection committee for lectures, training of teachers. So selection committee were there for selecting appropriate teachers for teaching in colleges and universities. Prior to there, no such committee was there. Then training of teachers, that is training institute for teachers in the primary, in the secondary schools, for the primary and secondary schools were also opened. Then what next? Now academic council was also established, which will look into the various types of academic activities. Then Gandhiji's basic education, or the Vardha scheme of education, that was free and compulsory education in 1937 for the age group of 6 to 14. It was mainly focusing upon craft centered education. The medium of education should be mother tongue according to the Gandhiji's policy. Then basic education was free compulsory, craft centered. Mother tongue was the medium of instruction. Education for citizenship, correlated system of teaching, integrated system of teaching. Non-violence was main focus. These are some of the important committees or commissions report regarding what? Regarding our education during the British period, and after independence, some of the things also took place. That is the different types of constitution provisions that were established after the independence. The most important of it is Article 45, which states that the state shall endeavor to provide free and compulsory education for the age group of 6 to 14 years of age. Then again, Article 351, that is the promotion of Hindi language. Article 29 focuses upon right to conserve and protect individuals' language. Article 30, right to minority to establish the educational institution. And Article 20, no discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, color in any government aided schools. So these were some of the facilities or provisions that were given after independence through different types of constitutional provisions. Then we'll move on to the next thing, that is education as a purposive and continuous process. So purposive and continuous process, what does that mean? So the term education has a broader connotation and a wider meaning. So education, we have two meanings of it. One is the narrower meaning, one is the wider meaning. What is the narrower meaning? That is, education is confined to the four walls of the classroom, and admission and pass out is the only time limit. We say that we have been educated. After getting the certificate, we say that our formal education is complete. That is the narrower meaning of education. That is attainment of certificate or a degree. But just the opposite is the wider meaning of education. So according to the wider meaning of education, education is a womb to tomb process. That is from birth till death. It is a lifelong process. It is a continuous process. So each and every event teaches us something or the other. Each and every experience is said to be educative. May it be a positive experience or a negative one. We learn. We as human beings learn some or the other thing from different kinds of experience that we feel. So here in the second part, we'll be dealing with education as a purposive process and a continuous process. So as a purposive process, each and every activity we do, we have a purpose behind it. What is our purpose, or what is our aim towards which we are achieving? So to move without purpose is to move without any direction. So education as a purposive process is that it is always directed towards achievement of some goal, directly or indirectly, depending on different forms of education. May it be a formal education, may it be a non-formal education, or we can say that to some extent the informal education. So at all the three forms have some or the other purpose behind them for educating an individual. So here, formal, non-formal, informal, all of the three forms of education focuses upon what? That education has a purpose, and we as individual have to move for attaining or move towards attainment of that particular purpose or aim. So here, if we focus upon the purpose of education, as teacher, one has to see what are the different types of content we have to focus upon. What is the content or the subject matter or the curriculum? Then after selecting the content, the type of methodology, that is the method of teaching, is to be taken into consideration. Then the type of evaluation system. All these things have to be taken into consideration so that we can say that education moves on in a smooth and easy process, and we'll be able to reach towards our goal. So, without the purpose, education is meaningless, least likely to culminate in anything meaningful, like a ship losing its direction. Just like a ship loses the direction while sailing, doesn't know which direction to go. The campus doesn't show the direction. In the same way, will be without a purpose. So it should have a purpose. So according to Gandhiji, education means an all-round drawing out of the best in child and man, body, mind, and spirit. This particular definition is very famous and most of us know it. So here, education should have a purpose. What kind of purpose? That is the development of body, mind, and soul, whether you are a child, right from childhood to adulthood, throughout a life. One has to focus upon the all-round development of the child, all round. So we have to include the social aspect, the emotional aspect, the intellectual aspect, the physical aspect. So all round means one should have a development which shows his entire persona is to be developed. Then according to the Upanishad, education is that which liberates us from ignorance. We move towards enlightenment, light. It takes us from ignorance to light, and the process itself is education. Education is complete living. According to Spencer, education is complete living. So here we have to say that we experience each and every aspect. In our day-to-day lives, we learn some or the other thing. So each and everything is said to be educative. Then, according to the National Curriculum Framework of School Education 2000, school education should promote what things? So what should be the purpose of school education according to National Curriculum Framework of 2000 for school education? The first one is what? Development of language abilities. The four linguistic skills are to be developed. What are they? That is the listening, the speaking, the reading, and the writing. So these things have to be developed so that the maximum development of a child will take place. Then the mathematical ability, that is developing mathematical ability means that is development of logical thought process. Logical for thought process should have a cause and effect relationship. You should portray your thought in a logical manner. Then the scientific temper, that is spirit of inquiry, problem solving skills, ability to solve your problems, ability to take your decision by your own self. You will not be indecisive. Then understanding of environment in totality, both natural and social. So both the natural environment and also the social environment. How to react, how to have emotional maturity. All these things come into it. Then appreciation of the sacrifices and contributions made by the freedom fighters. We should not forget our past history or ancient values, culture, the things that have gone through the Indians have suffered to get this particular independence. So all these things will act as a foundation or a footing upon which we have to develop our future culture or future societal development depends upon that, upon our this great past cultural values. Then knowledge of and respect for national symbols and desire and determination to uphold the ideals of national identity. We the Indian, the pledge we take, we the Indians, we are brothers and sisters, or saying the national anthem, or saluting the national flags. These all things develop patriotism in an individual. Then, deep sense of patriotism and nationalism is to be developed. Qualities, development of qualities, that is the personal, social, moral, and national spiritual values that make a person humane. Human being without humane qualities is just like two-legged animal. Humane quality is the very essence of a human being. So education is that which creates the humane qualities within an individual and converts him into a real human being. Then we'll be going to another thing, that is the aims of education, the purposes, the aims of education. Generally, aim is what? That is, aim means foresight in advance, foreseen of end, the outcome of an action, the focus. We are going to achieve something. What is our goal? How to achieve it? So, here, according to Dewey, to have an aim is to act with meaning, not like an automated machine. To have an aim is to act, to plan our different types of step by step planning to reach that particular goal. One has to plan a thing. Just like a teacher plans or a lesson plan is done prior to the teaching, in the same way, we plan our strategies or plan our things how to go to that particular goal or reach that particular goal. So here, individual aim and social aim are the two focus, are the two important things we are going to deal with. That is, in education, we are dealing with two particular aims. One is the individual aim, another one is the social aim. The very name, from that very name, we have to understand that individual aim focuses upon the individual's personality development, individual's different aspect, that is physical, emotional, social development. Then social aim in totality focus upon the society's development. So first we'll be focusing upon the individual aim. So education must be engineered to ensure physical, intellectual, moral, emotional, vocational, spiritual development of the individual in an integrated manner. We are not going to deal with watertight compartments. Everything is in a correlation manner we have to teach. In an integrated manner we have to teach. So, for example, first we'll go to the development. So, healthy mind is found in a healthy body. Creation of a healthy mind in a healthy body, according to Aristotle, is all about education. So the main aim of physical and health education is to develop desirable understanding, attitude, practices, and with regard to nutrition, health, sanitation. The health and hygiene chapter is taught. For what reason? So that we will understand the value of food and nutrition, the value of exercise, the value of to be clean, neat. These all things are very important. Then we have to have ideas regarding what? Neuromuscular coordination, corresponding to developmental, different types of developmental stages. So for that reason, in our curriculum, we have what? Now PT classes. That is your physical development things will be focused into them. Drill classes, games period, then NSS, Scouting, Red Cross. These are different types of activities that are to be carried out for the physical development of an individual. Then we'll move on to the intellectual development. Intellectual development, so as Locke says, tabula rasa. So mind is just like a plain slate. Whatever thing is written on it, the child tries to learn it and the child tries to behave or portray it. So here, teacher should be very cautious regarding what is to be taught to a child according to the age level, according to the mental level, and according to the interest and requirement of the child. So here, the thinking, the reasoning, the imagination, the problem solving capability, the creativity, all these things come into the intellectual development of a child. These have to be done in a step by step process. The child has to move from known to unknown, from similar things to difficult things, from concrete things to abstract things, so that the child will be capable to understand, to memorize, to comprehend the thing, and he will move from known to unknown, so that he'll have an interest for learning. If we'll teach complicated things first, then what will happen? The child will lack interest. The child will think this is not my cup of tea, I am not able to learn this. So first the simpler things have to be taken into consideration, then we'll move on to the higher things. And these all things can be focused through Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy says that how to have aims and objectives chronological way, in a logical way, in a systematic way. Then the different types of subjects that we teach. For example, mathematics helps for the development of precision, reasoning, analytical thinking. Science teaches us rational thinking, scientific temper, spirit of inquiry, objectivity. These all things help us to develop intellectually. Then social science help us for development of skills, knowledge, attitude necessary for self-development, effective and useful member of society. To be an effective and useful member of the society, we have to go through social science subjects. Then we'll move on to emotional development. What is all about emotional development? That is your emotional maturity. How to behave in an formal setting, how to react, how to suppress your desire, how to be a rational being. These all things help. We learn these things in your emotional development helps us these things. So emotional development is what? That is moving from positive to negative things, or emotions that range from positive to negative things. That is, we have positive emotions, we have negative emotions. Depending upon the situations we react. So emotional maturity develops spontaneously in accordance with continuous interaction with other members at home, with your friend circle, with your community at large. So we have to learn how to react. We cannot have our own whims and desires. There are some restrictions. The way we used to behave in our childhood days, We are no longer behaving in that way. Even though someone scolds us publicly, or we get some scoldings from our boss or in our job sector, or someone misbehaves with us, we can't immediately react it. Why so? Because now we are matured enough, we have learned how to behave. But a child immediately cries even in a public place. If the guardian scolds or the parents scold him or her, started crying. In the marketplace also, tries to behave in a very erratic manner. The parents are, some of the time the parents are also, they feel offended also, because the child has not yet received or developed the emotional maturity. Then we'll move to the moral development. Morality. The morality is what which help us to develop some humane qualities, ethical sense, what is right, what is wrong, how to behave with other human beings, how to pay respect to elders, how to have affection towards the juniors, and it distinguishes man from animal. So, ethical standards like honesty, truthfulness, justice, injustice is what, justice is what, how to show sympathy, what is empathy, these all things come under the moral education. So, according to Raymond, education's ultimate concern is to cultivate not wealth of muscles or fullness of knowledge. It is not the muscular development or the development of mind, rather, refinement of feeling. Your heart, the feelings we have, the way we react, the way we behave, our facial expressions, all these matters a lot. We should have an appealing approach towards other. We should always have a welcoming approach, how to behave, how to have a cooperative atmosphere, how to deal with others. These all things come under the moral education. So here we have to say that purity of heart is all about this particular education. That is, character development, moral development, purity of heart. These all things have been focused by Mahatma Gandhi. Even it is found in our Vedas. Even John Dewey has said all education forms character, mental and moral. So all education is all about character formation. The main two pillars are mental development and moral development. Then education for vocation. All these education, all blah blah blah. About all these things, if we'll not be able to get bread and butter, will not be able to get money, will not be able to get any livelihood, what is all about this? What is the use of having all these education? So education should and must focus upon the vocational development. So vocational development is what? It helps us to earn our livelihood. It is the bread and butter aim. So here we say that it is the insurance against unemployment. So according to Gandhiji, true education ought to be what? A kind of insurance against unemployment. It is the economics of self sufficiency. One has to be self sufficient to sustain in this competitive society. As Charles Darwin has said, survival of the fittest. So here one has to survive. All the life is never a bed of roses. We have to struggle a lot, and our vocation helps us to earn our livelihood, to have a prestige, to have a status in the society. So no knowledge gained in school will be useful to a person unless he or she is able to earn his livelihood. So all education should focus upon earning the livelihood. And for this, our Indian government has given different types of constitution, have framed different types of constitution, and they have given different types of recommendations. That is, the Secondary Education Commission emphasized upon improvement of vocational efficiency. The Education Commission 1964-66 emphasized upon relating education to productivity. Ishwar Bhai Patel Committee, that is in 1977, felt the need to relate education to socially productive manual work, that is our SUPW work. Then Adisissa Committee in 1986 1978 recommended removal of unemployment. These are some of the committees who have focused upon the vocational aspect of education, which is equally important. Then, our spiritual development. So, what is spiritual development? Spiritual emancipation, that is, realization of self, spiritual values development. Right from the ancient times or the Gurukula times, things have been focused upon self realization, emancipation of self, that is liberation, attainment of moksha. These all things, realization of truth, beauty, and goodness, that is Satyam, Sivam, and Sundaram. These all things have to be focused in the spiritual development. The aim of education is neither national efficiency nor world solidarity, but making the individual feel that he has within himself something deeper than intellect. Call it spirit if you like. Everyone has a touch of spiritual thing within it. That is the Atma and the Paramatma. Each of us have Atma and Paramatma is the creator. We have to link our Atma to Paramatma. That is all about self-realization. That will help us to have the enlightenment stage, which the Buddha, the Mahavira Jaina had. Education must orient the people towards the timeless, eternal spiritual maxims of, that is what, whole world is one family. We all are human beings. We all are brothers and sisters. We belong to one family, that is humanity. These all things have to be developed in the concept of a child. The child has to understand this. And development of spirituality is the key to avoid social conflicts. Antisocial activities can be curbed or can be removed with the help of this particular spiritual enhancement. Then we'll move on to social aims of education. So, social aims of education is what? Society expects a lot from the individual. How the society should have, what kind of contribution individual should have for the social enhancement or social development. The individual has to contribute for the society's development, and for that one has to have social commitment. One has to understand the processes, the forms, or different transactions of the society and act accordingly. There are some social rules and regulations. Some norms are there. Some taboos are there. Some obligations are there. The society rules and regulations are mandatory, are compulsory to be, one has to obey them. If one doesn't obey those things, one is named or labeled as antisocial being. You are thrown out of the society. You are put behind the bars. You will be there in the jail. The police is going to take you away. Why so? This is what society has, rules and regulations, so that social decorum is maintained. Social development is not harmed. For that, responsible citizenship is required, social reconstruction is required, social mobility is required. Moreover, socialization is required. Socialization is a process which starts right from the family. Your mother is the first teacher. Your family is the first school where you learn the process of socialization. How to react, how to behave, how to be socialized, how to have a rational thought process. All these things come under the socialization process. So, education for socialization, education for economic development, education for cultural development, education for political transformation. These are the main focus area under social aims of education. So, socialization is the first one. What is that? So it refers to the individual's internalization of all those norms, rules, behavior, values, traditions that have evolved and accumulated in a given society. So these are the important things. What are those? Now, the rules, customs, folkways, behavior, values that one has to learn to be a socialized, civilized member of the society. Then, education for economic development. So education for economic development is what? Any society is determined, that is, the society's position is determined through its economic status. The economic as a subsystem of society refers to those organizations and institutions, people who are engaged in the production, distribution, and making of goods and services. The production part, the distribution part, and making of goods, marketing of goods and services. All these things come under the economic aspect. All these things help us for elevating the social status of our society. Then, according to Marshall, education is considered as a national investment. Why? This is so because education influences the economic development in two ways. What are the two ways? By adequately equipping the labor force, it teaches the human beings the skills that are required to be good manpower resource. Labor force, then generating knowledge, theories, and technologies for productivity and management in all sectors of economy. So it provides what? Technical know-how, that is technical knowledge, and the manpower or the man force that is required for running this technical know-how. Only software will be there, no one will be there to run it, or only hardware will be there, no one will be there to operate it. Both hardware, software, and the system approach in totality covers everything. So both the knowledge, the manpower is required in a combined form so that economic development will be able, and these two things are provided by education. Then we'll be going for education for cultural development. So education for cultural development is what? Culture can be both material and non-material. So material culture is what and non-material culture is what? Material culture is tangible, the thing that we can touch, see. These are known as the material culture. And non-material culture is what? The customs, the traditions, the folk ways. These are the non-material culture. So beliefs, attitude, values, etiquettes, these are followed, these come under the non-material aspect. Both the material aspect and non-material aspect go under changes. But we find a cultural lag. What is it? When there is a disparity, or when we say that material culture is moving fast in comparison to the non-material culture, that is known as what? Cultural lag. For example, in the dressing sense we have changed, in the food we use we have changed, we have gone through a lot of modernization, we wear westernized clothes, we go for fast foods, we have likings towards apartments and bungalows and different types of luxurious cars, and going to restaurants and all, going to cafeteria, we surf in internet things, we go for net cafe and all. These are all western technologies and all materialized aspect of the culture. But in our thought process, have all of us changed? Have all of us changed in our thought process? Are we allowing for girls for going for higher education? Are we allowing widows for remarrying? Are we restricting child marriages? These are the things. Still, we are there. We are focusing, or in this area, we are having outdated thought processes. So here, in the material aspect, the even though we are progressing, but in the non-material aspect, we are still lagging behind. This particular gap in the material and the non-material thing is what is known as cultural gap. Again, education for political transformation. Society gets the right direction from the educated mass. If the voters don't have any kind of knowledge regarding whom they are voting, which party the particular candidate belongs to, what kind of nation is going to be there? Who is going to rule? What are the different types of agenda they are having? Are they able to understand it? Only a literate, educated voter can do justice to the voting right. Otherwise, it is useless. Only pressing the ballot box is useless. Only they take some money, sometimes they are bribed to do that. But that is not the real democracy. That is misutilization of it. Or here we have to say that political transformation is only possible when the voters are educated. We can say that education develops the political awareness, consciousness, or we'll be able to understand what is traditionalism, what is ritualism, what is chauvinism, what is religious bigotry. All these things is able we will be able to understand only when we have educated voters in our hand. Then we'll be moving to synthesis between individual and social aims of education. So here we have to say that individuality has no meaning without society, and society is nothing without individual. There is no existence of society. Group of individuals form a society. If there will be no individual, then no society. An individual cannot exist in isolation. We don't live in jungles. We live in society. We live in community. We live in our family. So here we have to say that both individual and society, they have a synthesis. That is, they have an interrelationship. Even though they there seems something they act as two separate entities, but still there is a synthesis between them. Education strives for making a good individual as well as a good society. So here, ultimately, a good society is framed through education. Education essentially aims at maximizing possible development of the individual and creation of an enlightened progressive society. So enlightened progressive society is developed only through the process of education. So education complements and supplements both the individual and the society. So then coming to education as a continuous process. So education as a continuous process is what? So it is a deliberate and a conscious process. It is deliberate in the sense that the educator knows the fact he has to develop all-round personality of the learner. Continuous process is that it is a having a wider connotation. That is, education is from womb to tomb. It is a lifelong process. It is not limited to the classroom transaction only. It is a continuous lifelong process from birth to death. Education is never complete. There is always something left to learn throughout life. One goes on learning. So each and every process is said to be educative. Each and every experience is said to be educative. In this process of continuous growth and development in man, education plays a vital role. Since growth never stops, education never stops. So every day we learn something or the other. So every day we are educating ourselves. So education continues throughout life, and there is no full stop in education. Then we'll move to another thing, that is, according to Lodge, the very definition that Lodge has given, all experience is said to be educative. The bite of the mosquito to the taste of watermelon, then the experience of falling in love, that is mosquito biting, taste of watermelon, falling in love with someone, flying in an aeroplane, or being in a storm in a small boat. Each and every experience has some or the other thing to teach us. We have to learn something or the other, how to react, how to manage our emotions, how to behave. So, education is thus a lifelong process. And here, the life teaches us what to do, what not to do. We learn from our mistake, and to err is human. Human beings means he is the only creation who makes mistakes and learns from the mistake. So to err is human. Otherwise, we would have been God and goddesses. So here, lifelong learning is a reality of life. The scope of learning is unlimited in any branch of knowledge. So which has been also focused in UNESCO, where in the General Conference of the 15th session, it has been told that is learning the treasure within. That is learning the treasure within means That is, the internal qualities is to be made external. How to unfold the internal inherent qualities of human beings. God has given us or gifted us some of the other unique qualities. Each of us have some of the other good qualities, which is very unique to the person itself. One has to develop it. One has to recognize it. Then only one will be able to develop it, to enhance it, to polish it, to refine it. Then, such education does not merely aim at spreading literacy or inculcation of basic skills, but goes much beyond that and attempts to draw out latent talents. So, one has to develop latent talents, means the hidden talents, the hidden qualities are to be developed. They have to come out. One has to exhibit it through the personality, through the behavior. Then it requires us to focus solely on man, his development. The main objectives of different stages and forms of education is to build capacity of each learner to learn and grow, develop the ability to know how, where to collect information and use the same purposefully and effectively. One has to say how to react. One has to have that much of intellect, how to react, how to behave, how to solve an immediate problem, how to reach the goal. These all things one learns through the environment. Different opportunities are there. How to avail those opportunities. That also depends upon the individual. How tactful that individual is. Then, so finally we can say education is purposive in the sense that it aims at achieving certain broader goals like bringing all about all round development in the individual, simultaneously fulfilling the societal aspiration. So development of both the individual and society is the focus of our study. Not only the individual development, but also the social or society's development. So both of them are correlated. Both of them complement each other. Then there should be a balance between fulfillment of individual and the society's development. And this can be done only through the process of education. Then moving on to differentiating education from learning and schooling. So what do you mean by education? What do you mean by learning? What do you mean by schooling? What does an educated individual mean? An educated individual is one who has an idea about letters of alphabet, who knows, who has the knowledge of reading and writing, who can a development of the total man in ways which are individually satisfying and socially desirable thing. Here, education, we have to, educated person is a person who says that he is able to have knowledge regarding reading, writing, speaking, these, the language abilities. But who is a really educated person? Literate is the person who knows or has idea about this particular alphabets, numbers, prose, poetry. That person is said to be a literate. But an educated person is one who is culturally sensible, a person who has liking towards his or her culture, who has empathy, who has sympathy, one who has love for mankind, one who is having humane qualities. An educated person is one who knows or who has ideas about letters of alphabet, numbers, science, mathematics, along with it, the different types of humane qualities. So, literate person is not always said to be educated, but an educated person is one who has the capacity or the ability of a literate person. So education or educated person has a bigger definition, and literate is comparatively a person who knows or has idea regarding the idea regarding the alphabets or the number system, like that. That is, who is purely confined to the books only. Nothing to do with the social values or nothing to do with the cultural values or nothing to do with the humane qualities. Then the concept of school. In West, scholars consider Chinese and Sumerians as the one who developed the scripts and institutions of schooling. So schools were first used to start in the Greek area. And here we have to say that in this particular unit, we'll be learning who is a literate person, who is an educated person, who is a knowledgeable person, what is the difference between education and learning, what is the difference between education and schooling. So here, literate or educate is a person. Literacy is a noun which stands for reading ability. Literacy is a process that the activities that enable one either to teach or to learn the skills of reading and writing. So a literate is the person who knows or has the idea about reading and writing, that much. Here the very definition of literate ends. But who is an educated person? Educated person is one. Here it has a bigger definition. So educated person is one who has the idea of reading and writing, along with it who has the skill of having or dealing, who knows the skill of dealing with other human beings, who has humane qualities, who can show sympathy, who has empathy, who carries the cultural heritage towards the successive generation. And here we can say that an educated person is one who has all these quality, along with he also has the ability to read and write. Accordingly, we can say that the definition of this particular term is therefore what is specified to a particular culture, particular area, or particular group. So it has a relative term. Then attributes like adaptability, behavior, politeness, social decorum, these are all qualities of an educated person. Helping attitude, respect for elders, affection towards juniors, these are some of the qualities or attributes of an educated person, which is something more than a literate person. Then here we have to say one more thing is that in during the British period, an Englishman who used to learn, whom we the Indians used to see with respect and awe, that is they are doing white collar jobs, they are Britishers, they are more talented, or they are very educated, but in real sense they were only literate. Some of them were there who could be told as educated, because some of them also had sympathy towards the Indian mass. Therefore, some of them also pleaded the government for what? Mass education. So mass education they wanted for what reason? That is, entire Indian mass could get education. Moreover, they had their own interest. What was their specific interest? To have, to develop individuals who will help in carrying out their administrative works. They wanted persons who will be capable of doing clerical jobs. So they wanted only literate men. So here one has to say that they wanted men who can do calculations, who can read and write English. Therefore they focused upon English medium of teaching. So here one has to say that today we are more concerned about educated individuals than literate individuals, because educated individual is one who will have who is said to possess qualities like or attributes like what? Politeness, adaptability, etiquettes, social decorum. This is the need of the hour, because everyone is literate but very few are educated. Then we'll be moving on to educated and knowledgeable. Educated and knowledgeable is what? So the very definition of education, etymologically, education has been derived from four Latin words. What are that? That is your educare, educere, e plus duco, and educator. So educare is what? That is to bring up or to raise someone. Educatum, the act of teaching. E plus duco is bringing out what lies within. And educere, to bring forth. So all of these four uh, Latin terms, they focus upon what? That is development of entire personality or persona. So here, educated and knowledgeable person is what? Education is the process that deals with knowledge. So education is the process whereby an individual tries to find out the real knowledge. Again, what is the real knowledge? That is the ultimate realization of self. That is attainment of nirvana, self-realization, attainment of moksha, moksha prapti. These are the main focus of each and every schools of Indian education. May it be your idealism is the most oldest of them in the Indian education school of thought, which focuses upon truth, beauty, and goodness. That is self-realization, attainment of moksha prapti, and all. So, education, the term education, if we focus in the Indian context, says that the Sanskrit terms for education are Siksha and Vidya. Siksha is to learn or to acquire knowledge, and Vidya, which comes from the root word vid, is what? That being aware, that is being aware of the environment or sensation or perception. So both of them combined together is what? Being sensitive to the environment means one becomes humane, learns to share the pain and pleasure of others. The other relates of being conscious of one's individuality. So being aware of what I am from others. So here an educated or a knowledgeable person is one who knows who is it, is who understand his own identity, the very existence of his on this earth, and who also understand there is he is an individual and his neighbor or other individuals also have a right to live. Live and let live. Let others also get opportunity to live. Let us be united. Let us have humane qualities. Let us develop the humanity within us. So these are the things which the term education or siksha or vidya teaches us. That is to learn or to acquire knowledge or to be conscious of the environment, being aware of what I am, and also being conscious of the other objects that are there in the environment, may it be the living object and the non-living object. So the last function of this particular education in the Indian context is what? That is to be able to pronounce each other every syllable correctly. The purity and perfection of enunciation is importance of education. So that is chanting of Vedic mantras should be in a proper way. Each and every Vedic term has a typical or a specific meaning attached to it, which has to be pronounced with right correct syllables. That has to be, which is very much focused in the ancient Vedic times. That is in the Gurukula ashram. They used to utter or chant mantras. They used to practice in a very particular, specific manner. The teachers were very cautious regarding that. The students had to practice it again and again. They hear it from their gurus, they practice it and rehearse it. So overall we can say that the siksha or vidya, according the education term in the Indian context, means to be a disciplined, learned, sympathetic individual. That is one who is a seeker of knowledge, a quest for knowledge, a thirst for knowledge. Jigyasa, that is you are having a hunger or you die for knowledge, the real knowledge, not hankering after money or not using your education or your knowledge for earning livelihood, but the real knowledge to understand who are you, why are you here in this on this upon this earth, what is the utility of being a human being, the real essence of your life. Atma, Paramatma, Satyam, Sivam, Sundaram, these are the main focus of import of knowledge according to the Indian context. Then Then we move on to what is education and learning. Education and learning is what? Thus, till now we have learned what is educated, what is a literate, what is a knowledgeable person. So here, learning is a very process. So learning is a process where we can say that it is the instrument where social change can take place. We learn from different activities, from our day-to-day experiences, and we learn from different individuals. We have some ideas whom we look upon. We try to learn, we try to imbibe, that is observational learning. We try to caricature them, we try to imitate them. So it acts as a process through which we acquire knowledge. So here we can say that education is increasingly being perceived as an instrument of social change, of economic development, or political ideologies. So in this case, we know education can mean different things for different people. For some, it may act as only for earning the livelihood, education is required. For some, it may act as a media for understanding self, that is, for understanding the very existence of their life. Why are they here on this earth? Then, here we have to say that in Vedas also, education is perceived as an instrument for earning one's livelihood. So, here one has to say that education is all about all-round development. So all-round development or modification of behavior also has some impact upon what? That is earning of livelihood also. Even in Vedas, during his student days, there is a quotation of Atharva Veda which says that during his student days, a student with sea-like seriousness kept an observing penance for bathing in the waters of education. Now that he has graduated and acquired capabilities for earning his livelihood and having become stronger, he is looking glorious. So here, according to this particular verse of Atharva Veda, one says that one has to take deep bath into the seas of knowledge. ज्ञान के सागर में डुबकियां लेनी पड़ेंगी. That is important. You have to dip yourself, or you have to bathe or bath in that ocean of knowledge. It is a flowing thing. It keeps on changing. Knowledge or different new things, different technological things, different scientific inventions, discoveries are taking on. One has to be updated. One has to move according to the situation. One has to be in accordance with the, have to at par with the time's needs and requirement. So accordingly, one has to upgrade his knowledge. Brush up your knowledge, pull up your socks to match up to the demands of the society. Then only you will survive. That is all about survival of the fittest. One has to compete. This very competitive society, one has to compete. Otherwise, you will not survive. Your existence doesn't matter. You are just like an ant, nothing more than that. Then we move on to another thing, that is learning is what? In simple language, we talk of one's learning. Unless specified, it generally covers both schooling as well as non-schooling engagement. Learning ability is Mother Nature's gift to guide and conduct an individual survival. So it is inherent with us. Each and everyone, from the birth, each and every individual has the potentiality or the capacity to learn. No one has taught us to learn. No one has taught us to learn. We haven't learned to learn. We have, right from the birth, we know the potentiality. We have that potentiality how to learn. How to learn a thing. That is the gift of nature. And within the four walls of the classroom or outside the classroom, we learn it. So learning has a broader connotation or a meaning. So here, psychologists say that learning is a psychological process. One must learn to be educated. Learning is that case is dependent upon a variable dependent variable of education. So here one has to say that to be educated, one has to pass through or go through the process of learning. So learning is the platform or the media through which one becomes an educated individual. Here we can say that according to the definition of Skinner, he says that repeated success leads to acquisition of new behavior, that is conditioning. According to Pavlov, almost all human learning is some conditioned. So there are some theories of learning also. In educational psychology, you must be knowing there are theories of learning. Trial and error theory of learning of Thorndike, condition theory of Pavlov, operant conditioning of Skinner. These are theories where these psychologists have experimented their thought processes upon animals and have got some conclusions or have resulted to some they have experimented have resulted to some conclusions which are applicable in upon human beings in classroom situations, so that we have to deal in classroom in such a way which will maximize our teaching learning process. Outcome will be more. So, learning is a psychological process. Here, the learner is to be provided with psychological satisfaction, the sitting arrangement, readiness of the learner, the mental adaptability of the learner, the IQ, his needs, requirements, everything is to be taken into consideration. The proper classroom arrangement, table desk requirement, cross ventilation, the teacher to be well trained. The teacher should act as a friend, philosopher, and a guide, should not dominate. Friendly atmosphere, conducive classroom atmosphere. All these things are taken into toto or in totality to be considered so that learning becomes an enjoyable thing. Then learning society and learning. So here one has to say that societies make arrangement for constant upgrading of information. Learning these days are a lifelong process. No more learning is confined to only the attainment of certificate. Now learning is just like education, that is a lifelong process. The wider meaning of education is taken into consideration here. That is, learning is a lifelong process and it is no more confined to the four walls of classroom. It is a continuous process. It is a purposive process. It is from womb to tomb, and each and every experience is said to be educative. Then schooling. Schooling, the very word school has come from the Greek word that is school. That is a leisure time activity. What is it? Here at the beginning, when the schools were created, they were only meant for the elite class. Only meant for the elite class, where we can say that the reputed or the higher class having good economic background used to learn. That was a status issue for them. So after that, or after the Renaissance, after that, we see that the Western university considered for mass education. In the 10th century, later at the 10th century AD, schools were considered for, schools were opened for giving opportunity for mass education. So here, wisdom and education and schooling, so they have a positive correlation. That is how to acquire wisdom, knowledge through the schooling process. An individual could be wise without either being literate or having been able to school. So there is a wrong notion that only those people who go to school are knowledgeable. They only have wisdom, and those who have not been to school are not knowledgeable or they do not have any kind of wisdom. The real essence of knowledge is known to be wisdom. That can be found by understanding the realities of life. How to have an understanding of the cause and effect of natural processes. What is the reason behind a particular event? That is to be thought, that is to be meditated upon, that is to be searched out. That is the real knowledge. Not all these learning of mugging up of rote memorization that is there in our curriculum. We learn it, we go for an exam, we appear it, then we get the result and all. That is not, that is not, that is only a part of it. That is the narrower aspect of it. That is only the attainment of certification now. But the real wisdom is something different. That is the hidden thing. That is the underlining meaning of thing. Here we have to say that one has to search for the real knowledge. One has to go for understanding the real wisdom and education and indoctrination. So what is education and indoctrination? So education and indoctrination is what? Here, indoctrination is a process tend to create homogeneity, curb heterogeneity. Indoctrination needs coercion for its survival, and propaganda is made to serve as a means for wider acceptance. One has to teach something into the minds of the younger generation, how to follow the rules and regulations of the society. One, this particular process is indoctrination. What is right, what is wrong, what is just, what is unjust, everything has to be taught to the child, because he has not learned it right from the birth. He's just like a plain slate. One has to teach it. And the child learns from the family members, from the neighborhood, and finally from the society at large. And indoctrination is a form which is adopted through the process of socialization. So, this particular thing the child learns right from the family. Different types of rules and regulations, the customs, the folkways, the traditions are indoctrinated. And accordingly, the student or accordingly the individual learns it. Then there are cultural indoctrination, religious indoctrination, cultural indoctrination wherein choices of phases are informally approved for use of ceremonial occasions. That is our cultural values. What are our traditions? Our forefathers used to do that. Our fathers did it. We are doing it. And then our successive generation will carry it out. So that has to be indoctrinated. That is the process of cultural indoctrination. So these all things are to be taken into consideration for the cultural sustenance, maintenance, transmission, and enrichment of culture. So here we say that knowledge is an organized group of valid information. That is, valid information is known as knowledge. Truth, that is, an information which is true and valid, is said to be knowledge. Authenticated, it has some evidence. We can prove it that that is 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, or H2O is equal to water. 2 of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen mixed together to get water, H2O. That has been proved. That is a valid knowledge. So, in this way, we have tried to differentiate between school, learning, and schooling. Then we'll move on to education as an institutional network. So, education as an institutional network says that education is considered as an institution. Education is considered as an institution. Why? Because school is considered as an formal institution. School is considered as a formal institution, or it is the first formalized system of institution where the child learns the etiquettes, the customs, the rules, the discipline, the decorum, and try to become a rationalized, civilized individual. Here, the needs, the requirements of the society is taken into considerations. The particular society in which where the school exists, the particular political scenario decides the aims and objectives of that particular institution. We are living in a democratic society. India is a democratic country. Here, the democratic principles, values, liberty, equality, fraternity, these are the important principles or values which are enshrined or which are taken into consideration while framing the educational aims and objectives. And accordingly, the curriculum is decided, and accordingly, the methods of teaching are taken into consideration. Therefore, school is a formal institution. And accordingly, we can say that education is also an institution. And education is a subsystem of a larger system, that is our society. So, here to maintain social equilibrium in a society, equilibrium is to be maintained. Equilibrium is an ideal state of balance. It will be more or less realized in social structures. The family and the school are the positive and necessary institution through which social values and cohesions are maintained. So, social values and cohesions are maintained or carried out only through the via media of family and school. They are the active agents which help to maintain the social balance, to carry out the society, or to develop the society, or to carry out the cultural values, the social norms and regulations, the tradition to the successive generations. Right from the Vedas, we have seen till now, this particular things is there. Then we have to say that here the learning, the classroom practices, the different types of teacher pupil relationship, examination, each of these aspects of an educational organization has to function in a proper order so that it can be called as an institution. An institution is a formal setup. It has timetable, it has admission procedure, it has different books prescribed for the students, and accordingly the classes are carried out. There is fixed examination system. The marks are awarded, and accordingly certification is done. So these all things are to be done in a systematic procedure. It is a formalized, systematic platform where the social values, customs, ethics are carried out, maintained, and sustained. Here, the organization institution have their goals clearly laid out. In educational institution, their functions are limited to developing and sharpening of individuals' cognitive abilities. So we focus upon developing individuals' cognitive abilities so that these developed individuals will help in the development of the society. If individuals are not properly developed, all round development of individual is not done, then how can we expect a society to develop? Because individuals are the mirror of the society. They reflect the social values. Without individuals, there is no society. The very existence of the individual defines society. So here, departments of education under a director of education oversee only the working concerning. There is political ideology, and here different types of organizations are there, different types of members are there who look into the matters of supervision, administration, so that proper functioning of classroom takes place. Then instrumentality and functions. What is it? That is, instrumentality and function is what? The very word instrument comes from the Latin word instrumentum, that is to instruct, to guide someone, and function means to perform. If we combine these two words, that is the instrument and function, what is the outcome? That is performing the act of instruction. That is, those instructions that were given, how to carry it out in an orderly way, how to perform your instruction in an orderly way so that we'll be able to reach our goal. So, performing the act of instruction is what? It is the very criteria or very quality of an institution. So, education is performing the act of instructions. Those instructions that are given by the teachers are to be carried out by the students so that their overall development is taking place, and in the future they will come out as civilized, socialized individuals who will benefit or who will be helpful for the development of the society. Again, education like has some ladders, some steps. That is, your levels are primary, secondary, higher education, or some forms are also there, formal, informal, non formal. Everywhere there is a need, there is planning is done, there are aims and objectives for the formal setting where it is to be done in a systematic way. So here we say that it is an institution. So education is an institution where we say that the instruction are carried out in a systematic way. There are some levels and stages of educations also. So levels are chronologically stated, or here we can say that step by step from lower level to higher level. And there are some stages also, and these have interconnectivity, and everything are every step and every stage or levels are supervised systematically, they are followed. So we can say that right from the ancient times, the history of Indian education, if we see, the Vedic had a typical system, then the Buddhist system, then the Islamic, then we go for the British period, then finally the modern system or the after independence. Each and every era had its own systematic way of transacting the educational affairs. So it was all in a chronological way we can go through and study, or we can have a comparative analysis that in which era what type of curriculum, what type of aim and objectives, what type of methods were carried out, so that we'll have a better understanding of our history. Of history of what? History of educational institutions. Then, general and specific requirements of education. We have general education or specific education. Specific education, that is related to medical science, management, or different types of technical knowledge. These are specific. And general education, that we have your general BA, BSc, BCom. These are the general colleges or general education. Here we have different specific purpose regarding education. So here ancient India, professions like medicine, engineering, architecture and law, these were also there. Even during the Buddhistic, even in the Buddhistic monasteries, they had special provisions for different kinds of subjects. In medieval education, there were different types of stages, which I have already told, that is maktabs for the junior, that is the primary part, and madrasa for the higher education. And scholars were there having different times, different types. What were they? Uleman, Ikhat, who devote their lives learning and uplifting the Muslim society, and Uleman I Dunya, who employ their knowledge for earning wealth. Those relating to dunya were focusing upon earning money, and those relating to akharat were focusing upon what? That is learning and enhancing their knowledge. So here in modern times also we have different types of educational institutions. We have several stages like pre-primary, which includes nursery and kindergarten, then primary, then lower secondary, then higher secondary, then higher education, that is the college and university. The other divisions of educations are, for example, we have IIT, ITIs, engineering, medical. Then the third division is intellectual abilities of children, that is handicapped, physically handicapped, mentally retarded, deaf and dumb. Then the normal children. There are some children who can be included in the mainstream by inclusive education also. Visually disabled children. There are special provisions or special schools or blind schools for them. So the last category of educational division is located in financing. Some of the institutions are government aided, some are grant in aid system, some are self financing. So there are three categories of educational institution basing upon their financing background. And there are some professional regulated institution or organizations or bodies. These are UGC, AICTE, MHRD. They look into different types of technical institutions or higher education institution. So in this way we can say that these are different types of levels and stages. Then we move on to modes and channels. So modes and channels of education say that we have different types of modes and channels of learning. What are that? Face to face transaction, that is our traditional classroom. Another one is online learning, that is presently we are having an online classroom. Virtual classrooms are there, and there is also we have different types of formats of virtual classrooms, e-learning, online learning, and these are different types of platform where we use technology. Traditional classrooms are nowadays outdated. We are becoming techno savvy nowadays. We have to have technical know-how, how to use a laptop, how to have idea regarding your emails, how to surf an internet. All these things are important nowadays, so that you can have the entire information of the world on your lap or on your desktop, so that we can update our knowledge. So now education is also provided through different modes and channels. There are distance courses, there are correspondence courses, and there are also online teaching methods. So here, in this way, we can say that there are some technical, some programs that are telecasted on television. That is Gyan Darshan. NCRT, SIT programs are there. Sometimes some DVDs are also given. Some DVDs are there so that the students can run them at their own sweet time and they can learn through that. They don't have to come to the educational institution. They can learn in their homes, where they will be having sufficient time to rehearse that again and again. They can see, if they have any doubts they can also have doubt clearing classes, that is online classes is also available. So here we can say that education nowadays is is providing a lot of facilities, where we can say that students are no more dependent upon the teachers. They can themselves learn. Program learning is also there. Program learning materials are there. Blended learning materials are there. ICT enabled tools are also used. These all help for having better knowledge, updated knowledge. They can always have the latest information in their hands. So, in this way, we have completed Sir, are you there? Sir, are you there? 7 and above. अच्छा अच्छा. I get. Students, there's an information for you. Tomorrow onwards, we'll be having our class from 7 to 9. Evening 7 to 9. Okay? Sir is going to inform you, or he'll be giving you the message that these classes will be from 7 to 9. Evening 7 to 9. Okay? Anyone has any queries or doubt? Hello?
Hello?
Anyone has any doubt?
Hello?
Hello? Okay then students, I'm leaving. Have a good day. Be safe. Thank you.